Howdy, folks. Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer, and welcome to our campaign update for our D&D game. Now, as you know, if you follow me on my lives, etc., we normally play in person back here at the table every Friday night. However, as the world knows, COVID has gone apeshit. So, we are back playing on Roll20 virtually. And the other change is that I have taken a break from DMing, and Jonathan has started his campaign back up again. So, the basics to start off with, because this is technically a new campaign, is that he is using old school essentials, classic fantasy. However, he is using the advanced rules, which I do not have my book yet. It's on the way. And this is basically a very streamlined, cleaned up version of the BECME stuff, the D&D basic BECME stuff that has been kind of streamlined down into this version here. And it's quite handy. So that is the rule set we're using. And he has set the game world in that of Dolmenwood. And that is a separate fantasy setting that is published by the same people that make this stuff here. So they kind of go hand in hand. Dolmenwood is a very high fantasy with a lot of like fairy creatures and and woodland creatures and that type of stuff. That is the fantasy setting. So that's the setting. That's the rule set that we're using. And I wanted to go over real quick the team of adventurers so that we can have all of our names squared away as we go through these campaign updates. So we'll start with my character. So my character and one other person, Niels, one other player, we have kept our characters from the first adventure he put us through in this, which was before I started DMing. So we carried those over, so they're both level 2. My character's level 2, and Niels' character is level 2. Everybody else is level 1. Because some people decided to start new characters, and we carried ours over. So my character, Eins Goldbach, fighter, human. And he is now level 2, of course. And he basically, his secondary skills that I rolled were Trapper, Furrier, and he lived in this small village that the first adventure we did started in. And the way I wanted to play that character was that he was bored to tears with his current lifestyle. He'd been a trapper and furrier and basically a farmer living in this little village all his life and everything. And he yearned for adventure. And all he wanted to do was go out and experience the rest of the world. He wanted to fight monsters. He wanted to rescue the damsel. He wanted to get the treasure. He wanted to find the cool sword. He wants to do all that stuff. And so his alignment is neutral because he doesn't know anything yet. He just wants to go out and experience life and everything. And he hasn't really decided which way he's leaning. But right now he's neutral. So that is Eins Goldbach, my fighter. Then you have Brom, who is the other character that was carried over, played by Niels. He is a magic user. You have Randy Midnight. That is the character's name, played by Brad, also a fighter. You have a kind of a feline humanoid that is in this game in Dolmenwood. That is a player character race. And it is a feline humanoid which can take actual cat form or this feline humanoid form that they can go between. And that is played by Stesha. That character's name is Petunia. Then you have you have a woodgrue played by Ethan, and a woodgrue is like a I'm not sure I even understand it. It's kind of a nature creature, like kind of you would imagine like a a wood gnome type creature that's magical and so forth. That is the race and the class, Woodgrew, played by Ethan. We have Stetson, who's also, and I did not write down his character. He came late to the party, and I cannot remember. I didn't write down. I don't think I wrote it down. No, I don't have any other notes here. I cannot remember what his. Oh, he was playing a cleric. I know that because we needed a cleric. So I can't remember the race or whatever, or the character's name, but we do have a cleric played by Stetson. So that is our cast of characters there. And we started in, and I thought for sure I wrote down the name of the town here, but maybe I did not. We started in a little town, and the town that we were in originally was called Reyn, Reyn. We are now in a different town, and for some reason I could have sworn I wrote that down, but I did not. It does not look like. Regardless, doesn't matter. We're in a small town and we had to describe why we were there. It was easy for my character to say, well, as he's on a search for adventure, he just left Reyn, the town of Reyn, where he's from, and said, I'm out. He'd already gone on one adventure and he loved it, and he just yearned for more. So he headed out, and Brom decided to go with him, so because we were both from the same place. So Ainz and Brom headed to this new town, and the other characters had to come up with their reasons for being there, and we all met up there. Of course, I think it was the tavern, and we overheard somebody talking about this George the Hunter was an NPC that had gotten injured by some dragon type creature out in the woods somewhere, to the point where he actually lost a hand or lost an arm. And that intrigued all of us. Of course, Ainz, my character, I'm like, dragon, you say? I'm on it. Let's go kill a dragon. That's right up his alley. He wants to experience all that stuff. So we decide we need to look into this. We decide we're going to go see George the Hunter and get the story about this creature and all that. Meanwhile, there's another table of adventurers, it looks like, with a rare red-haired female fighter type that seems to be the leader at another table. And Ainz is, again, he's about embracing life at this point, so he tells the bartender, take 2 of whatever. He had quite a bit Ainz had some gold left from that first adventure, so he's feeling pretty rich, even though he's not. And he says, whatever she's drinking, send 2 of them to her and tell her they're from me or whatever. And so he takes the drinks over to her, and they do the thing, where he's like, he puts up his mug and she does, and cheers and all that stuff. And he decides that Ainz, my character, decides, hey, let's see if they want to join with us. There's strength in numbers, but they weren't having it. I approached her and her table, and they weren't receptive to joining up with us or whatever. So we basically said, okay, well, safe travels to you. That, in hindsight, that was probably a mistake, but my character, as naive and young and naive as he is, didn't know better. So, and when I say young for my character, I don't mean in years. I mean in experience, because he actually, on that first adventure, he was attacked by an undead creature, and it aged him by 10 years or 12 years. By 15 years. He is now 32 years old. But that's physical years, not mental, emotional years at all. So he's still, young emotionally and from an experience standpoint. So that was probably a mistake to try and get their help, but regardless, he did it. We go off to see this George the Hunter, and George explains, that I've never seen anything like this thing. He thinks it was a dragon. He describes it. It's like, well, that could be a dragon, could be a giant lizard, could be, so because none of us have a lot of experience with fighting dragons, we're all new characters. We're all new adventurers, So we as the group decide we're going to try and help this guy out and so forth. Another part of the group went to Brahm, and I think it was the cleric. They went to the church to try and get some information there, and they got a lead about there was a missing cleric that had gone looking for some type of artifact that would help fight this creature, and he never came back. So now we have the creature that we are worried about having to go face. We have a missing cleric from the town who went to go find an artifact that would help. He never came back. So when we joined back up, after getting our info from George the Hunter, we decide we're going to go look for the cleric first and see if we can find him and or the artifact both before we decide to go after this dragon and whatnot. Now, as a side note, when George was telling us his tale, apparently his dogs were the only reason he survived, because the dogs attacked the creature or whatever and let him get away, but the dogs were killed by the creature. So Heinz felt like, well, if there's a way I can do something for this guy, because he was pretty depressed. He was pretty, the way the DM was playing him, he was pretty solemn and, like he had nothing to live for type of a thing. He lost his hand, he lost his dogs. So I decided to go into town and try and find anybody that has some puppies for sale or something, or a litter of puppies that they've just, gotten in their family or whatever. And I find that I think it was the blacksmith had some hounds. He raised hounds, and he had one that was perfect for this George. And I bought it. I paid quite a bit. I mean, a considerable amount. And Heinz doesn't really care about the money. He cares about achieving it and getting it as a goal. And then once he has it, he's not cheap. He likes to spend it. So he spent the money. He gets the dog, takes it back over to George. George is overwhelmed with I can't believe you did this. Thank you so much. And he grabs the dog, and now he's happy because he's got another dog that he's got something, So I did that first. And then we head off looking for this cleric that's been missing, that's looking for this relic. And along the way, we get attacked by a couple different things. Red hat gnomes. Now, I tweeted out, if you're not following me on Twitter, you probably should, because I tweet, I try to tweet daily, but on the Fridays, especially from this Roll20, I take screenshots and then tweet them out as the game's going. And the Red Hat Gnomes attacked us when we were in camp. We defeated them, and I think we might have got attacked by one other thing. I can't remember. And we did well with all that, and then the second attack was by some goblins or whatever. I think they were goblins, and we chased after them or whatever, and we found their hideout type of a deal. And we find their hideout. And there's two of them on the roof, and they start attacking us from the roof and everything. My character decides he's just going to bull rush his way into this house, this cabin or whatever it is, to try and get up to those two that are attacking from the top. And the rest of the party starts fighting these other goblin stuff, start coming out of everywhere, and the battle is on. Of course, when Heinz gets in the door, he's met by a bunch of goblins or whatever, and he has to start, he's fighting 3 of them or whatever, including the boss. That doesn't go well for Heinz. But at one point, and I have to backtrack here because I forgot about something. At one point, our wood grew character, the magic using wood grew, cast strip. It's a spell that makes everybody that's affected take their clothes off. And he did that to basically, I don't remember if it was the gnomes or whoever it was, but he did it basically as a distraction to them, that if they failed, they'd have to take their clothes off and we could attack them or whatever, and while they were under the effect of the spell. Well, we all had to save because we were all in the area of effect, and we all failed. Everybody in our party failed. So we're all naked. Everybody in the party has had to take their clothes off. So that was part. I don't remember in the series of events where that happened, but that did happen. And to be honest with you, I can't remember if we were still naked when we made it to this goblin house. I don't think we were. I remember us getting dressed at some point. So, but that did happen. I didn't even know that was a spell, but in this edition, in this game world, apparently it is. So, needless to say, that was a fun part of the evening, was trying to deal with, you know, the characters having to deal with their modesty, and whether or not they, you know, it affects them, whether or not it distracts them, and that type of thing. Ainz doesn't care. He's gonna go ham no matter what, and try and kill everything that is deemed an enemy. So, but anyway, so when we get to the thing, to the goblin house, I get inside to try and, my idea was just to try and push past whatever I encountered to get to the top, because I knew we got to get those two guys off the roof, because they're basically ranged attackers that have advantage because they're up high. And I'm like, I got to get to those two up there. But I didn't make it up there. I got encountered by 3 of them, including one which was the boss. And I think I took one down, but I ended up, the boss grappled me, and I lost the strength check or whatever. And so he gets a hold of me. He takes me hostage. And he puts a knife up to my throat or something. And he goes out and he tells the rest of the party to stop, or he's going to kill me or whatever. And Ainz is like proudly, you know, yelling to the party, "Don't negotiate with him. If he kills me, he kills me. So let it be, you know, so be it, whatever, you know." And so the other members of the party do negotiate with him. And he basically says, "Hey, look, we can work with you guys to try and find this dragon thing or whatever. We can help you try and find the artifact. We can try and, you know, and everything." And at that point, everybody's pretty much in agreement that we didn't have a sense motive. There was no way to sense motive, but we kind of felt like, okay, maybe, you know, he could have killed me at this point already. He didn't. And we decided, okay, well, we're going to see if we're going to give it a shot. And that's where we stopped for the night. Was we basically agreed, okay, we're going to trust you guys, and we're going to go from there. And that's where we stopped. So, that was the first episode of Adventures in Dolmenwood. I asked the DM what the title of this campaign should be, and he said it just simply Adventures in the Dolmenwood. So there you have it. Anyway, guys, that is the campaign update. We have a Beer 30 tomorrow, so if there's any questions that come in on this video, they will be answered tomorrow night during the Beer 30. And then Thursday we have another live. That's when we have our next live. So that's what's coming up. How about them Raiders? Raiders made it into the playoffs. So I think they're going to be playing the Bengals in the wild card game. So pretty happy about that. And I think that's it, guys. I don't think I forgot anything. But if I did, I will cover it in the Beer 30. So until then, catch you on the flip side.